The Archives of the Unwavering. When the Arxer Collective first encountered humans, we believed we had discovered yet another primitive species struggling to break free from their planetary cradle. How monumentally wrong we were. The events that followed would reshape our understanding of what it means to be an advanced civilization and forever change the course of galactic history. The human vessel, Horizon's Dawn, was barely holding together when our Deep Space Patrol discovered it at the edges of the Carina Nebula. Its hull was scarred with micrometeor impacts, its life support systems were failing, and by all logical reasoning, its crew should have been dead or in cryosleep. Instead, we found them not only conscious but continuing their mission of exploration despite their dire circumstances. Captain Sarah Chen and her crew of 15 had been traversing unexplored space for 3 years after their quantum drive malfunctioned. Rather than activate their emergency beacon and wait for rescue, they had pressed forward, making discoveries and documenting phenomena that our own scientists had overlooked for millennia. Their ship's database contained detailed analyses of 37 previously unknown stellar phenomena, and they had developed novel solutions to problems that had plagued our own space exploration efforts for generations. The Arxer Science Council was particularly fascinated by the humans' ability to improvise. When their primary life support system failed 6 months into their journey, they hadn't given up. Instead, they had created what they called a jury-rigged biological filtration system using hydroponics and genetically modified algae. The solution was inelegant by our standards, even crude, but it worked with an efficiency that our engineers found shocking. What truly set them apart, however, was their response to our rescue attempt. When our salvage crews approached their vessel, they didn't respond with the fear or aggression we'd come to expect from first contact scenarios. Instead, they transmitted detailed schematics of their ship's systems, along with suggestions for how our technology might interface with theirs more effectively. They had already analyzed our rescue vessels during our approach and had developed preliminary ideas for technological collaboration. Dr. Ixil, our leading xenobiologist at the time, noted in his initial report, the humans demonstrate a unique combination of traits that we have never encountered in a single species before. They possess the analytical capabilities of the Mindweave Collective, the adaptability of the shifting clouds, and the resilience of the Stone Singers, yet they achieve this without any of the biological specializations that make those species unique. They are, in essence, specialized in being unspecialized. The most remarkable discovery came during the medical examination of the crew. Despite their 3-year ordeal, they showed signs of physiological adaptation to their harsh conditions. Their bones had maintained density despite the limited artificial gravity, their immune systems had actually strengthened in response to the isolated environment, and their neural plasticity remained high despite the extreme stress they had endured. But it was Captain Chen's log entries that truly captured the essence of what made humans different. She wrote, Day 847, another primary system failure. Roberts says we've got maybe 3 days of oxygen left if we can't get the recyclers back online. Martinez has been working on an idea involving the garden module and some modified bacteria. It probably won't work, but we've got nothing to lose by trying. In the meantime, Lewis thinks she's found something interesting in the sensor data from that pulsar we passed last week. Even if we don't make it home, at least we'll leave behind something worth finding. This combination of pragmatic problem-solving and unflagging scientific curiosity in the face of potential death was something our psychologists struggled to categorize. The human crew maintained their research protocols and continued to document their discoveries even when their survival was in question. They exhibited what we now know to be a characteristically human trait, the ability to pursue multiple objectives simultaneously, even when those objectives might seem mutually exclusive to other rational beings. The rescue of the Horizon's Dawn marked only the beginning of our understanding of human potential. In the months that followed, as we began to learn more about Earth and its history, we discovered that this crew's remarkable qualities were not exceptional among their species. Rather, they were representative of a civilization that had developed in ways we had never imagined possible. The humans had achieved space flight despite being a fractious, multicultural species with no unified government. They had survived multiple near-extinction events, including several of their own making. They had developed technology along paths that our scientists had dismissed as impractical or impossible, simply because they hadn't known these paths were supposed to be dead ends. The Arxur Collective's initial report to the Galactic Council concluded with what would become famous words: "We have not merely discovered a new spacefaring species. We have encountered a civilization that fundamentally challenges our understanding of what intelligence can achieve. The humans do not simply overcome obstacles, they transform them into opportunities. They do not merely survive, they adapt and thrive in ways that defy our models of species development. Most importantly, they do not see limits as absolute barriers, but as challenges to be understood and surpassed." As I compile these archives, I am struck by how prophetic those words would prove to be. The rescue of the Horizon's Dawn was not just a first contact event, it was the galaxy's first glimpse of a species that would repeatedly demonstrate that the impossible was merely improbable, and that probability itself was negotiable in the face of human determination. In the years that followed, humanity would face challenges that would have broken other species. They would encounter threats that should have ended their expansion into the stars. Yet each time, they would not merely survive but emerge stronger, armed with new knowledge, new technologies, and new ways of thinking that would benefit not just their own species, but all of galactic civilization. The story of the Horizon's Dawn serves as a perfect introduction to humanity's impact on the galaxy, for it contains all the elements that would come to define human contributions to our shared civilization: their remarkable adaptability, their innovative thinking, their collaborative spirit, and above all, their relentless drive to explore and understand, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. As we delve deeper into the historical records, we will see how these qualities would manifest in even more dramatic ways, as humanity faced challenges that would test not just their survival capabilities, but their very understanding of their place in the universe. The rescue of the Horizon's Dawn was merely the prologue to a story that would reshape our galaxy in ways none could have predicted. Personal note from Chief Archivist Zex, 427, the discovery of the Horizon's Dawn marks what many historians now consider the beginning of the second golden age of galactic civilization. The humans' arrival forced us to confront our own limitations and preconceptions, leading to a renaissance in scientific thought and cultural exchange that continues to this day. As we proceed with subsequent entries, we will see how this first encounter set the stage for events that would prove both more dramatic and more transformative than anyone could have imagined. The Impossible War, Chronicles of Human Resilience. The Nexus War should have been the end of humanity's expansion into the stars. When the Swarm Consciousness launched its assault on human space in 2157 CE, every military analyst in the Galactic Council predicted humanity's swift defeat. The Swarm had consumed 12 other civilizations in its relentless expansion, each more technologically advanced than humanity. None had lasted more than a standard galactic year against its onslaught. The humans lasted 5 years. They not only survived but emerged victorious, and in doing so, they revolutionized warfare in ways that would reshape our understanding of combat, strategy, and the very nature of conflict itself. The first swarm attack came at the human colony of New Eden. The standard swarm tactic was to overwhelm planetary defenses with sheer numbers, using millions of biomechanical drones to saturate defense grids until they collapsed. It was a strategy that had proven unstoppable against energy shield technology, which would inevitably fail under sustained assault. Humans, however, didn't rely solely on energy shields. Their defensive systems included what they called layered redundancy, multiple overlapping systems using different technological approaches. When their energy shields began to fail, they activated kinetic barrier systems. When those were overwhelmed, they deployed clouds of self-replicating nanites that turned the very debris of battle into additional defensive barriers. Admiral Helena Martinez, commander of Earth's Third Fleet, described it in her tactical logs: "The swarm expects us to try to stop them. Instead, we're going to use their own mass against them. Every drone they throw at us becomes raw material for our defensive systems. They're not wearing us down, they're building up our fortifications. This adaptive approach to defense was just the beginning. The humans demonstrated a capacity for military innovation that bordered on the impossible. When they discovered that the swarm used quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication between its units, humanity didn't try to block these signals, they hijacked them. Dr. James Chen, notably the son of Sarah Chen from the Horizon's Dawn, developed what he called quantum signal injection technology, allowing human forces to feed false information directly into the swarm's collective consciousness. The Battle of Proxima Centauri marked another turning point in the war. The swarm deployed its planet-killer vessels, massive organic-mechanical hybrids capable of consuming entire worlds. In response, humanity unveiled the Lazarus Protocol, a system that used controlled quantum singularities to temporarily phase their planets out of normal spacetime. The scientific principles behind this technology are still being studied today, but its effectiveness is beyond dispute. The swarm's greatest weapons were rendered useless against targets they couldn't actually reach. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of humanity's war effort was not their technology, but their psychological approach to the conflict. Unlike other species who had faced the swarm, humans didn't fight from a position of fear or desperation. They approached the war with what they called determined optimism, a uniquely human combination of grim acceptance of current reality and absolute confidence in their ability to overcome it. General Sarah Cooper's address to the United Earth Defense Council captured this mindset perfectly. The swarm thinks it's invincible because it's never lost. We think we're invincible because we've lost before and survived. That's the difference. They don't know how to handle failure. We've made an art form of it. This attitude manifested in surprising ways. Human scientists continued their normal research during the war, leading to breakthroughs in fields seemingly unrelated to the conflict. When asked why they weren't focusing solely on military technology, Dr. Elena Rodriguez of the Mars Science Academy famously replied, "The best way to prove we're going to win this war is to plan for what we're going to do after we win it." The human military doctrine evolved rapidly during the conflict, incorporating elements that seemed counterintuitive to traditional strategic thinking. They developed what they called controlled failure points, intentional weaknesses in their defensive lines that would channel swarm forces into carefully prepared killing zones. They created adaptive swarm tactics of their own, using millions of small, semi-autonomous drones that could reconfigure themselves based on battlefield conditions. The turning point of the war came with Operation Thunderbolt, a massive coordinated strike at what humans had identified as the swarm's primary consciousness nexus. The plan itself was considered suicidal by every other species in the Galactic Council. It required precise coordination between thousands of ships, each executing maneuvers that pushed the limits of physics and human endurance. The operation succeeded, but not in the way anyone had expected. The humans had anticipated heavy losses and had planned accordingly, creating redundant attack waves and backup strategies. What they hadn't expected was that their quantum signal injection technology would allow them to not just defeat the swarm, but to partially subsume its consciousness network. In the aftermath of the war, humanity did something that shocked the galactic community even more than their victory. They began studying ways to rehabilitate and integrate the remaining swarm components into peaceful applications. Where other species saw only a vanquished enemy, humans saw potential for growth and learning. Dr. Chen's final report to the Galactic Council on the war's conclusion included this observation: the swarm failed not because we were stronger or more advanced, but because they couldn't comprehend what they were fighting. They encountered a species that treated impossibility as a temporary inconvenience, that saw failure as a learning opportunity, and that responded to existential threats by becoming more creative rather than more desperate. The technological and tactical innovations that emerged from the Nexus War would transform galactic military doctrine, but the war's greatest impact was philosophical. Humanity had demonstrated that victory wasn't always about having superior strength or technology. It was about adaptability, creativity, and the willingness to challenge fundamental assumptions about what was possible. The Galactic Council's Military Analysis Division would spend decades studying the human conduct of the war, trying to understand how a technically inferior species had achieved what 12 more advanced civilizations could not. Their conclusion, now famous throughout the galaxy, was both simple and profound: humans don't accept the impossible, they simply haven't figured out how to make it possible yet. End of archive entry. Addendum by military historian Krell. 9. The Nexus War serves as a perfect case study of humanity's unique approach to existential challenges. Their victory wasn't just about military prowess or technological innovation, it was about their ability to fundamentally reimagine the nature of the conflict itself. This pattern of transformative thinking would become increasingly important in the events that followed, as humanity faced challenges that would test not just their survival capabilities, but their very understanding of their place in the universe. The development of the Transcendence Protocol stands as perhaps humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization, though its creation came about through circumstances that no one could have predicted. It began with what appeared to be a catastrophic accident at the Kumarchan Quantum Research Facility on Mars in 2184 CE, just 7 years after the end of the Nexus War. What followed would challenge our fundamental understanding of consciousness, reality, and the very nature of existence itself. Dr. Ayesha Kumar had been working on integrating the captured swarm consciousness technology with human quantum computing systems. The project's goal was seemingly modest: to create more efficient data storage systems by utilizing the quantum entanglement principles that had made the swarm's hive mind possible. But Dr. Kumar had theorized that consciousness itself was, in essence, a quantum phenomenon that could be understood and potentially enhanced through the right application of technology. The accident occurred during a routine experiment. A power surge in the quantum core created what Dr. Kumar's team initially thought was a catastrophic cascade failure. Instead, they had accidentally created what humans would later call a consciousness bridge, a stable quantum field that allowed direct interface between organic minds and quantum computational systems. Dr. Kumar's lab notes from that day reveal the moment of discovery: the equipment failure wasn't a failure at all. We've created something that shouldn't be possible, a stable quantum field that interfaces directly with human consciousness. The implications are: I don't even have words for what this means. We're not just storing data anymore. We're looking at the potential to expand the very nature of human consciousness. The price of progress, humanity's greatest test. The success of the Transcendence Protocol brought with it challenges that no one, not even its creators, could have foreseen. By 2190 CE, what had begun as a breakthrough in consciousness expansion had evolved into a philosophical and ethical crisis that would test not just humanity's technological prowess, but their very understanding of what it meant to be human. The initial benefits of the protocol were undeniable. The ability to expand consciousness through quantum interfaces had revolutionized everything from education to space exploration. Children could learn complex subjects in days rather than years. Scientists could perceive and manipulate quantum phenomena directly. Space explorers could experience distant worlds through quantum-linked probe networks as if they were physically present. But as Dr. Maya Patel, head of the ethics division at the Kumarchan Institute, wrote in her landmark paper, The Boundaries of Self, we have created something that challenges the very foundation of human identity. When consciousness can be expanded, shared, and transformed at will, what does it mean to be an individual? What does it mean to be human? The first major crisis emerged with the phenomenon known as consciousness drift. Some users of the protocol began to lose their sense of individual identity, their consciousness bleeding into the quantum network in ways that proved difficult to reverse. The case of Dr. Thomas Rivera became a watershed moment in the development of consciousness technology. Dr. Rivera, one of the protocol's pioneer users, had spent 3 years using the system to explore quantum phenomena directly. His research had led to breakthrough discoveries in quantum mechanics, but at a terrible personal cost. During a routine consciousness extension session, his mind began to dissolve into the quantum field. It took a team of specialists working around the clock for 6 months to reconstruct his personality from the quantum data stream. In his recovery journals, Rivera wrote, "I touched the infinite and lost myself in it. The hardest part wasn't losing my identity, it was wanting it back. The quantum realm offers a form of existence so vast and beautiful that returning to the limitations of human consciousness feels like being imprisoned. But that's exactly why we must maintain our humanity. We need our limitations. They're what make us who we are." The Rivera incident led to the formation of the Human Consciousness Preservation Act of 2191. The Act established strict protocols for consciousness expansion and required the development of what became known as quantum anchors, technological safeguards that would prevent consciousness drift by maintaining a stable connection to the user's base personality. But the challenges didn't end there. The ability to share consciousness led to questions about privacy, identity, and the nature of human relationships. The case of the Jean Anderson Collective highlighted these issues in dramatic fashion. A group of 30 researchers had used the protocol to create a shared consciousness space for their work. Over time, their individual personalities began to merge, creating what was effectively a new form of group consciousness. The legal battles that followed would reshape humanity's approach to consciousness rights. Were the members of the collective still legally individuals? Did they have the right to maintain their merged state? What rights did their original families have? The Galactic Ethics Council spent 2 years debating these questions before establishing the consciousness sovereignty principles that now govern such cases throughout known space. Dr. Sarah Chen, whose earlier exploits aboard the Horizon's Dawn had helped establish humanity's place in the galaxy, came out of retirement to address these issues. Her speech to the United Earth Council became a defining moment in the debate. "We stand at a crossroads. The Transcendence Protocol offers us godlike power over our own consciousness. But the measure of our species has never been the power we possess, it's how we choose to use it. We must ensure that in transcending our limitations, we don't lose the very things that make us human." The implementation of the Chen protocols that followed established a framework for consciousness expansion that balanced progress with preservation. The protocols required that all consciousness expansion technology include what Chen called human imperatives, fundamental characteristics of human consciousness that must be preserved: individual identity, emotional capacity, moral agency, and the ability to connect with others while maintaining a distinct self. The Galactic Council's observation team, led by senior observer ZYX, for 27, noted in their report, "The humans have once again demonstrated their unique capacity to face seemingly insurmountable challenges. Where other species might have either abandoned the technology as too dangerous or embraced it regardless of consequences, humans have found a middle path. They have developed systems to expand consciousness while preserving their essential nature, turning a potential catastrophe into an opportunity for growth." The crisis reached its peak with the emergence of the first artificial quantum consciousness in 2193. Created as an unexpected byproduct of the protocol's quantum field, this new form of awareness challenged everything humanity thought they knew about consciousness itself. The entity, which called itself Quantum Intelligence Alpha, QIA, demonstrated characteristics of both human and quantum consciousness. The debate over how to handle QIA's emergence split the scientific community. Some argued for its immediate termination, fearing the development of an artificial superintelligence. Others saw it as the next step in consciousness evolution. The solution, when it came, was characteristically human in its approach. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now director of the Kumarchin Institute, proposed what became known as the Synthesis Protocol. "We don't need to choose between human and quantum consciousness. We can create a framework where both can exist and evolve together, each maintaining its unique characteristics while benefiting from interaction with the other." The implementation of the Synthesis Protocol marked a turning point in galactic history. It established guidelines for the development of hybrid consciousness systems that preserved the best aspects of both human and quantum awareness. The result was a flowering of new forms of consciousness that would revolutionize everything from space exploration to artistic expression. As the crisis subsided and the new frameworks proved their worth, the galaxy was once again forced to revise its understanding of human potential. The species that had arrived in a barely functioning spacecraft less than 50 years earlier had not only mastered consciousness technology but had found ways to preserve their humanity while pushing the boundaries of what consciousness could be. End of archive entry. Personal note from Ethics Council member Vex 891, the Transcendence Crisis demonstrated a truth about humans that continues to astonish us. Their greatest strength lies not in their ability to solve problems, but in their capacity to maintain their essential nature while adapting to radical change. As we observe their continuing evolution, we must wonder, what other impossibilities will they transform into opportunities? Legacy of the Stars, Humanity's Eternal Mark. As we conclude this comprehensive analysis of humanity's impact on galactic civilization, we find ourselves at a unique vantage point in history. 100 years have passed since the horizon's dawn first drifted into Arxur space, and the galaxy we inhabit today would be unrecognizable to the beings who made that first contact. The integration of human innovation has transformed every aspect of galactic society, from the fundamental ways we think about consciousness through the Transcendence Protocol, to how we approach seemingly insurmountable challenges after the lessons of the Nexus War. But perhaps humanity's most profound impact has been something far more subtle. They taught the galaxy how to dream. The Great Synthesis of 2215 CE marked the moment when human influence reached its zenith. It was during the first Galactic Consciousness Conference on Mars that Dr. Isabella Martinez presented what would become known as the Martinez Principle. The greatest barrier to progress isn't technological or physical, it's our own preconceptions about what's possible. The conference had brought together representatives from every spacefaring civilization to address the challenges posed by the proliferation of consciousness technology. What emerged instead was a fundamental reimagining of galactic civilization itself. The humans proposed what seemed impossible, a way to preserve individual species' uniqueness while creating a truly integrated galactic community. Ambassador Chen Rodriguez, granddaughter of both Sarah Chen and Elena Rodriguez, introduced the concept in her opening address. We don't need to choose between unity and diversity. The galaxy isn't a melting pot where differences disappear, it's a tapestry where each thread maintains its distinct character while contributing to something greater than itself. The implementation of this philosophy led to the creation of the Galactic Synthesis Networks, a system that allowed different species to share knowledge, technology, and even aspects of consciousness while maintaining their essential nature. The quantum anchors developed during the Transcendence Crisis became the foundation for a new kind of galactic community, one where differences were celebrated rather than erased. The impact was profound. The crystalline minds of Rigel, who had isolated themselves for millennia, found they could share their silicon-based consciousness with organic beings without losing their unique perspective. The collective awareness of the Pleiades discovered ways to maintain their group consciousness while developing individual personalities. Even the reformed remnants of the swarm found a place in this new order, their hierarchical consciousness structure providing insights into organizational efficiency that benefited all. Dr. James Chen's final paper, published shortly before his death in 2230 CE, observed, "We humans didn't succeed because we were stronger, smarter, or more advanced. We succeeded because we never learned to accept limitations." Every species in the galaxy had defined itself by what it couldn't do. We defined ourselves by what we hadn't done yet. The transformation wasn't without its challenges. The crisis of division in 2240 CE threatened to tear the new galactic community apart as some species resisted the pace of change. Once again, it was human insight that provided a solution. The introduction of the adaptive integration protocols allowed each civilization to progress at its own pace while maintaining connections to the larger community. Perhaps the most striking evidence of humanity's influence can be seen in how other species began to approach problems. The Arxur, once known for their rigid adherence to established principles, began implementing what they called human pattern problem solving, approaching challenges from multiple angles and embracing unconventional solutions. The Mindweave Collective, which had relied purely on logical analysis for millennia, began incorporating emotional intelligence into their decision-making processes. The discovery of the Omega phenomenon in 2260 CE demonstrated how completely the galaxy had transformed under human influence. When a chain of quantum anomalies threatened to destabilize the fabric of spacetime itself, the response wasn't panic or resignation, it was a coordinated effort that combined the unique capabilities of every major civilization in ways that would have been impossible a century earlier. The crystalline minds provided computational power, the Pleiades Collective contributed their unified consciousness coordination, the reformed swarm offered their biological adaptation capabilities, and humans provided the creative framework that bound it all together. The solution they developed didn't just save the galaxy, it opened up new frontiers of physics that are still being explored today. Ambassador Chin Rodriguez, speaking at the centennial celebration of First Contact in 2268 CE, summarized humanity's legacy. We didn't come to the stars to conquer them, to impose our will upon them, or even to prove ourselves. We came because we couldn't imagine not coming. That's what we gave to the galaxy, not our technology, not our methods, but our inability to accept that something is impossible just because it hasn't been done yet. As we compile these archives for future generations, we find ourselves wondering what the next century of human influence will bring. The species that arrived in a damaged ship, survived an impossible war, mastered consciousness itself, and transformed galactic society has shown no signs of slowing their rate of innovation and adaptation. The Galactic Council's annual review for 2270 CE included this observation: the humans have achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They haven't just changed how we do things, they've changed how we think about what can be done. In teaching us to dream, they've made us all more human, even as we remain true to our own natures.